What if I told you that for $3,500, you could get a device that serves as a music server, streamer, DAC, and preamp all in one, from a company known for making $10,000 plus audiophile components?
Oh my, well, that's exactly what Aurender has done with their new A1000 network DAC, and it might just be the hi-fi unicorn you've been waiting for.
The A1000 isn't just another streaming DAC trying to do everything. It's Aurender's most affordable entry point into their ecosystem, bringing that renowned build quality and refined sound signature to a much broader audience.
It combines 4 essential functions: music server, network streamer, high-quality DAC, and preamp. Whether you're looking for a preamp or a DAC to pair with your dedicated headphone amplifier, the A1000 is well suited for the job.
We've been putting this compact powerhouse through its paces for the past few weeks, and honestly, it's really been nothing short of blissful. And since we're your one-stop shop for cutting through that hi-fi hype with real-world testing, make sure that you're subscribed for more reviews just like this.
Today we're breaking down the 5 things we absolutely love about this unit, so let's dive in.
First up, and what initially drew us to the A1000 is its versatility to serve as a music server, music streamer, DAC, and preamp. And what sits at the heart of the A1000 is its DAC chip, and we're really excited to be able to show you a little glimpse of what's underneath this hood.
Let's pop the top.
So the A1000 uses an AKM DAC chip, specifically the 4490 REQ DAC dual mono DAC chip, which Drew's pointing to right there.
And it uses a dual mono architecture in terms of one chip is used for the right channel, one chip is used for the left channel. Everything acts independently from each other, this making things easier to do all the digital processing without interference from another channel. The more things you can separate out in these devices and circuits, the better each device is going to operate at.
And then what is this? Let's talk a little about the server.
Yeah, so this is the storage drive. You can simply unscrew the back and insert an SSD drive. We've got an SSD drive already installed. We usually recommend the Samsung Evo drives. You can buy these on Amazon or your favorite computer store. This is the one I've always used with all of our servers here at Moon Audio, and this is what I recommend in using in the Aurenders.
And that's really one of the great things about the A1000 and a lot of Aurender components is they do include the option for you to insert your own music. Because if you are somebody with that large music collection and you want to be able to listen to that but also stream with the services you have, then you get the opportunity to do both with this component.
And so let's talk about the streaming services that are available. So you've got Tidal, and it has the ability to do the MQA conversions. You can do Qobuz, you can do Spotify Connect, you can do internet radio, and then of course you can do all the music that stores on this drive. You can also link, which I do have this one set up this way, is that you can link it to an ACS 10 or an ACS 100, where that's a ripping engine where you can rip on that device, store all kinds of music on their hard drives. The ACS 10 comes with a whole plethora of huge, massive size of storage that you can put on it. And then you can link all that music straight to the A1000 without even having to have a hard drive in this. So it all depends on how far you want to take it, and it gives you the upgrade ability to add multiple Aurenders throughout the house for different systems. If you're like me, I've got 3 systems in my home, so having that ability to just have one server that mounts all of the storage and then be able to route it to the others is really cool and unique.
And none of this would be able to be made possible without Aurender's dedicated app, the Conductor app. So that's going to be where you're going to access your music files, be it from your SSD or HDD card. It's also where you're going to access your Tidal, your Qobuz, the internet radio stations. The Conductor app is really intuitive, super easy to use. They make it uncomplicated, and I would say that a really great perk that you might not know about is actually the remote support technical assistance. So if you experience a glitch or a technical difficulty, you can put the A1000 into maintenance mode. What you do is you go into the app, it's all done remotely through the app. A technician will then go in and they can troubleshoot remotely. It's really a premium service that just comes standard with any Aurender product, and I don't really think it's something that you see a lot from manufacturers.
Yeah, customer service is second to none when it comes to this company. They really do it well. Not only that, but the bottom line is, I've talked about this before in other videos, it's really hard to be an incredible hardware company and software company. Aurender is one of the few companies that really truly excels in both areas. Yep. And they started with just doing servers, right? There are other companies that do amplifiers, preamps, DACs, and then they bring a server, use a third-party outfit to do all their software. Well, not with Aurender. They started the opposite direction. Everything is their own proprietary software, their app, etc. They have engineers on call that you have questions about the app, and the app is very Apple-esque in terms of usability. It's very, very easy to use. It's very simple. It's not complicated. You don't have to be an IT engineer to be able to operate the app. And some of these software programs out there with servers are very difficult to use if you're not technically inclined. This is a very easy one to use. You can do all kinds of sorting. I mean, it's all controls at your fingertip, volume, changing inputs and outputs, and streaming services, and searching through your music. There's also a separate conductor app for just doing all your metadata information if you do have an ACS ripping server to go along with this, where you can edit all the artists, because when you go out and get Blue Note and Grace Note information for all of the artists, it's not always perfectly correct, and you can edit all that stuff. Mm-hmm. They've really thought about everything at Aurender in terms of how to really bring music to you in a simple, easy fashion.
And lastly, let's talk about the preamp a little.
Yeah, so essentially this is a digital preamp, and what I mean by a digital preamp, it only has digital inputs. So if you have a real simple system, you just want to have an amplifier, this server, and maybe a CD player, you can do digital outputs from your CD transporter player into this unit, or even a DVD player for that matter. So it's got a coax digital input, a Toslink input, and then you can do a digital out from this if you just wanted to use this as a server with a much more expensive DAC. So it gives you a lot of ways to upgrade your signal chain down the road. It's also got a USB input, so if you want to connect a computer to it and do all kinds of streaming from services that Aurender doesn't offer, like let's say maybe you want to do YouTube video music and stuff like that, that can do all the digital to analog processing in here, go through the preamp, you can control it via volume control. Really makes it very flexible.
But truly, all of this versatility doesn't really mean anything if you can't actually connect it to your system. Let's get into smart connectivity. So let's start with the game changer in this component, which is the HDMI ARC input. This alone makes the A1000 worth considering if you want to enhance your TV's audio. All right, Drew, why don't you tell us what we're working with on the back panel?
Yeah, so some of these I've mentioned before, but I think it'd be good to go over every single one because we didn't mention everything. So first we'll start on this side with these are the analog outputs from the digital to analog converter. This is gonna take care of playback of all of your different streaming services, if you've got music stored, if you're doing a digital input from a CD player, whatnot. So those are your analog outputs. Then we've got a coax input and output here. So that's, again, if you want to connect a CD transport to it or some other digital device. And if you then want to send a digital output to a more robust, higher level DAC than this, you can. So it's upgradability option included, essentially. Then we've got a Toslink connection. Same thing as the coax, just a different format, so you can connect another device to it. Hey, you can even plug in a TV to do the audio from the TV into this and let this be the DAC for that. Again, you've got the HDMI ARC. This is the first iteration of the ARC connection on any of the Aurender devices. ARC is the ability to two-way communication with a television set. So if you want to hook this up to a television set, you can send the audio through the eARC output into the television set and then onto a home theater processor. Or vice versa, you can send stuff back from the TV into here. This will control turning on and off the TV, or vice versa. The TV can control turning this on and off. There's also a 12-volt trigger on the back that can turn on other devices like your speaker amplifier if you do use it as a preamp. So this has a lot of control mechanisms if you want to use this as a full dedicated digital preamp in your system. Then we have a USB input, so you can connect an external computer to this, like I said earlier, and stream all of your different, streaming services that aren't available by the Aurender. Then we've got our network connection. This is for control and command and also pulling data information for all of your streaming services from the network. Up here you'll see the Bluetooth antenna, and here's the Bluetooth card internal to the unit. So this now allows you to do any kind of Bluetooth streaming from a phone or a tablet. So you've got your friends over and you're gonna have a wine and cheese party and you want all your friends to be able to connect and play their music and talk about different bands that everybody loves. We've got a ground connection here. This is grounded to the chassis. Grounding all of your components in your system is very important. And some pieces, honestly, you've usually got this on the IAC, a 3rd-pin connection for grounding, but some products don't have that ground, that earth ground. And it's a really good idea to make sure to have all of your products properly grounded, because that can get rid of any potential for what's called ground loop hum. Then we've got below that the 12-volt trigger. So if we're using this as a preamp with a speaker amp or some other device that you want to control and turn on and off, this device will send out a trigger relay to turn that device on. Then we've got 2 USB connections. One is for USB audio output. So let's say you're going to connect to an external DAC. With USB audio output, you'll be able to do not just PCM, but also DSD. It has a lot more flexibility in terms of the resolutions that you can output to a external DAC, because SPDIF is usually capped at about 192. Toslink, depending on the device, is either 96 or 192. With USB output, you can do any resolution. So you can go all the way up to 768 if you need to be. Then you've got the other USB connection that you can connect an external hard drive. I can't imagine running out of storage, but 4 terabytes is a lot of storage, which is what I'm using in this device right now, but you can now get solid state hard drives up to 8 terabytes. It keeps increasing, but if you need more, you can connect another external hard drive. Then you've got the power controls, the IEC socket for your power cord, a fuse there in case you're gonna get a short through the line, and it'll protect you from destroying your beautiful server. There's also 2 fuses inside next to the power supply, so lots of redundancy to protect this piece from electrical storms. And of course, up here, the tray for the hard drive. Again, Samsung's my favorite, but you can use just about any brand of hard drive, and it's very easy to install. It'll come with screws that you can hold the drive in, slide it in, screw these 2 things right here, and you're good to go on all of your data being stored on this unit. You can also do data backup through the software. So if you want to protect what's on here, you can actually send out a complete copy to an external hard drive to protect it. There's all kinds of flexibility in terms of what you can do with this device, more so than any other device by Aurender so far. And one last thing to talk about, this is the remote that comes with the Aurender. This is one of the few Aurenders that actually comes with a remote. Because of all the different plethora of inputs and outputs, the ability to control it as a preamp, this time they've included a remote to make things snappy and easy if you don't want to play around with your tablet.
And we've got the PassLabs HBA1C headphone amplifier here with us. This is what we used for part of our listening sessions. I also listened to this with the Dragon Inspire Tube headphone amplifier. So if you already have an existing headphone amp, but you're kind of just looking for that all-in-one component just to upgrade your setup, super easy, just turn it into that plug and play source component, connect the 2 together, and you're off to the races.
Yeah, the 2 are very similar priced in the $3,000 range, so it's a hand in hand in terms of teaming these 2 up together. I use the PassLabs as my listening device for checking out what the Aurender sounded like, and I really like the combination. We'll be doing a review on that new version of the PassLabs amp, so stay tuned for that later on.
And there would be no connectivity without our Dragon audio cables. Going to be the perfect link from your source component to your headphone amp to everything in your system. We've got with us right here the Silver Dragon USB cable. We got the USB Type B, USB Type A. We also have this available in many different configurations, so just depending on what you're looking for. We like the Silver Dragon because it's going to provide you that fast, reliable audio transmission. It's going to be detailed, resolute. You're not going to be worrying about any fuss when you're working with that. In the middle, we've got our Bronze Dragon network cable. This is what you're going to use for your Ethernet. Once again, stable connection. It's all about stability.
And we can build any kind of length and termination on all these cables we're doing. And we've also got the Bronze Dragon interconnects. This is what I used between the A1000 and the PassLabs when I did my demo. I thought it had sort of the right tonality to match what was going on here. And cables are all about tonality. There's no right or wrong to which cable you choose. The price doesn't necessarily mean that's necessarily the better cable. For example, silver costs more than copper. Silver is always going to be more expensive than a copper cable. But it's about tonality and figuring out which coloration to the cables match the gear you have. Let us know what you're using in your system. We're happy to give you advice on which cables to use in your system.
All right, so it's versatile and well connected, but here's what really matters. How does it sound? For me, I enjoyed the dynamics, the articulation, and the balanced sound that I got from it.
Yeah, I find it on the warm side of neutral, it's very natural sounding. Again, why I paired it with the Past Labs is that's sort of similar to what that sound signature is. All of Past Labs' stuff that operates in Class A mode tends to be on the warm side of neutral, sort of halfway between solid state and tube. So it's sort of the perfect blend. And really, I sort of found this as very similar sounding in terms of the AKM chips are always on the warmer side, but still great dynamics, great detail, a great combination with that headphone amp. It's amazing what they can do at this price point for $3,500. So much going on here. Some of the Aurender pieces that are much more expensive with much more complicated DACs and whatnot. It truly blew me away how good this was sounding compared to some of the other pieces. I mean, we're always chasing after the next percentage point to get more performance. And yes, you can get that with the higher end pieces, but I have to say at this price point, it's just ridiculous in terms of all the connection options and the sound quality that you get. It's really tremendous.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I think that the A1000 is a perfect example of one of those times where you get a component that doesn't have to cost $10,000 plus to get that $10,000 plus sound quality. Another great thing in regards to sound is I felt that this is a very complementary component. Sometimes with certain brands, you kind of get a situation where they have the best synergy with other components within their brand, but this was not the case. Like I mentioned, I listened with the Dragon Inspire tube headphone amp, and for me, I just love like the warmth that you get from a tube amp. It's subtle, but that just added some additional character when I paired it with Denon's headphones too. I know we also did some listening with the Dan Clark E3, like we mentioned in the Past Labs. So it really just goes to show that it doesn't matter what headphone amplifier you have. The sound quality of this being balanced, refined, on that neutral with a little bit warm leaning, it is gonna go one way or the other, and it's gonna work great with all your headphones and your various amps.
So next, let's talk about build quality. Kayla, what do you think?
I think that this is an exceptionally built unit. So it sits at roughly 18.3 pounds.
Beast.
So it's sturdy and durable. It's not overly large, and I know that sounds a little crazy because it does look big, but I have seen Aurender components that are larger than this one. So we have easily placed it on a shelf in our demo room, but you could also put it in a spot where you're kind of low on real estate. Definitely would not recommend putting this inside of a cabinet with closed doors just because it does have heat sinks on the side. So when you are using it, you're gonna wanna make sure that there is proper ventilation.
Yeah, it doesn't get excessively hot, but it will get warm because there's a lot of things going on in here. With every iteration of Aurender releases, the front display gets better and better. Yes. They're working on now setting up all these separate cards for power supply, DAC, processor. So if there's ever a need for warranty, it's very easy and quick to work on and change out cards if there's an issue or whatnot. One of the most important things and really underrated and overlooked by customers is the power supply designs that Aurender does. You'll see here that we've got 3 transformers. We have one that's dedicated for the DAC, one that's dedicated for the processor, one that's dedicated for the display, the hard drive, and some other functionality. When you separate out each one of these things, and I've talked about this before, if you take a receiver and you take the tuner out, the preamp out, the speaker amp out, the phono preamp out of it, each time you separate these pieces, each one of these products does a job much better than if it was one whole piece. So that's what's going on inside here. We've got separate power supplies doing separate processing, isolated from each other, so there's no sort of interference between componentries. The build quality of the chassis is remarkable, built like a tank. I mean, really high quality. I mean, this is much higher quality than I would expect from a product of this size.
Yep, so this is a thick cut machined aluminum chassis. It's got the heat sinks on the side, like I mentioned. You're gonna get 2 finish options, either black or silver. Like Drew mentioned, this is a roughly 6.9 inch LCD display screen. You know, as to whether a display screen matters for you is up to personal preference, but it's bright, it's colorful, and when you're sitting all the way across the room, like, it's just nice to be able to glance over at your system, and it's just beautiful and it's glowing.
Yeah, and all the Aurenders are now coming with the UPS battery backup, and let me explain that. It's not a true battery backup, whereas in this situation, they're actually using capacitors to store energy. So if you've got a quick brownout, a drop in the power, it won't die down, and which is really bad for computers, if you will. So it protects that from happening and you losing all of your data storage and so forth. I've seen music servers in the past, you know, when they were first coming to market, you'd have a power out and all of a sudden, oh my God, the hard drive has failed or it's data corrupted and you have to redo and re-rip all of your music. So they've thought that out with the power supply design, adding that extra storage to protect all of your data if there's a brownout or something like that.
And to really round out the build quality section, I think one of the things that we really want to drive home to you is the separate power supplies, because I know you're probably sitting here thinking, well, you guys and audiophiles in general always preach, you know, the strength in separate components. And that is very true, because there are times where you do get that 4-in-1 component that can do it all, but the internal componentry isn't really thought out enough to perform as well as it were if you were to get separates. But with the case with Aurender, with the A1000 and any component in their lineup, by using those separate power supplies, they are essentially giving you those separate components, true separate components that are inside of just one chassis.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have imagined having 3 separate power supplies in a piece of this price.
Yes, and especially at this size too, you would think they'd be way larger. And if we haven't already convinced you, our 5th and final reason why the A1000 is the best product for your hi-fi system is its exceptional value.
It has a slew of features at an incredible price point, complementary component to anything in your system, synergy with a range of headphone amps and headphones. It's just an amazing product.
Like we mentioned earlier, at only $3,500, under $5,000, you get tremendous bang for your buck. And I know we say that a lot, but this is one of the few times where if you're going to get anything that's bang for your buck, get the A1000.
Versatility is key. This is a plethora of all kinds of connection options and a do-all machine in one box. You know, you've got your ability to use it as a server, as a DAC, a USB DAC input for your computer. You can do USB audio out to a more expensive DAC. You can connect more hard drives to it. You can link to other Aurenders in your house. There's a whole ecosystem of what you can do. You've got all kinds of streaming services. You've got all kinds of abilities to play different data files, whether it be DSD, PCM, and more. You can do MQA, like I said, with Tidal. You can do all kinds of connection options like Spotify Connect. They're adding more connection options, like they've just added the Qobuz Connect option. Tidal Connect has always been available for Aurender for a long time, and now I imagine other ones are going to happen as well. I would imagine seeing maybe Amazon Connect at some point. Who knows? These are all upgradable via firmware. They always mention to you on the app that you can do a firmware update to add more features. So it's upgradable in the sense of not just software, but also the ability to connect other pieces of hardware to it.
And if you're someone with that large headphone collection, you can rest assured that the A1000 will sound great, be it with any pair of headphones, analytical, natural, or warm and musical. That plus that connectivity is really what makes it worthy of being called the hi-fi unicorn that it is.
We'd love to hear what your 5 favorite things would be if you had this in your system. Drop us a comment below and let us know what matters most to you in a streaming DAC.
And if this breakdown helps you figure out whether the A1000 might be right for your setup, smash that like button and hit subscribe while you're at it. It really does help us reach more audio enthusiasts who love hi-fi gear just like you.
Until next time, keep those tunes spinning and check out the Aurender A1000 Network DAC at moon-audio.com.
Thanks
for watching. Take care.